Hi everybody, my name is Allison Smith and this is my final presentation for our applied assignment. In this presentation, you're going to hear about my pre-work, my research, new learning including evidence and connections to our course materials and topics, and then continued inquiry, meaning new questions and where I'll basically go from where I'm at. So to start out, my pre-work, my topic was disabilities and inclusion in the public school system. I chose this because it's important for my major. Much like a lot of you, I am going to school to be a teacher, so my major is elementary education. So the aspect of inclusion that I chose was education and communities in schools. To start out, I interviewed a third grade teacher. I chose her because she works with children who have disabilities, and she has a lot of insights on how to create an inclusive classroom. Some of the background knowledge that I already knew was the importance of sensory items and teaching material in different ways. These are both things that were solidified through our class and the interview process. The first course material that I utilized for this assignment was the Los Angeles Schools Struggle to Integrate Special Education Students. This was a video that we watched back in Module 1. It talks about Leo, who is a student in the Los Angeles School District. So I included this video because it talks about the struggles that education has faced with inclusion of disabled students and the progress that has already been made. It talks about the issues that still need to be addressed and fixed. The example I'm giving is how Leo spent most of his time away from his peers while learning, so he would go to a separate classroom rather than being included in the classroom. And the video addresses that problem because inclusion means he's included, which he hasn't been because he's taken out of the class. The next course material that I chose to use comes from the U.S. Department of Education, and it's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the IDEA. I chose this resource because it is the base law that helps children with disabilities in the classroom, and this resource is applicable to just help better understand the law and how it can be appropriately used. The IDEA is a law that makes it available for free and appropriate public education for children with disabilities throughout our entire nation. Some of the outside research that I gathered comes from the IDEAamerica.org, and it's called How Teachers Can Help Students with Learning Disabilities, and it's from the Learning Disabilities Association of America. So I chose this resource because it includes a question and answer section with a teacher, which is applicable to real life because I'm hearing her stories and how she would answer, similar to like the interviews that we did for our class. I used it as a real life account on how to teach children with disabilities. One of the things that the teacher talked about was steps to helping students with learning disabilities, and she broke it down into break learning into smaller steps, supply regular and quality feedback using diagrams and graphics and different pictures so that to augment what you're saying into words, and then engage students in a process type questions like, how is this strategy working for you? How can it be improved? Like, how are you doing, basically? Continuing with evidence, one of the interview questions that I asked my third grade teacher was, what does your school do to promote inclusion for kids with disabilities? And her answer was, students are provided with the least restrictive environment for their learning. Students with disabilities receive a modified curriculum where they can demonstrate understanding in a variety of ways. Likewise, instruction is given in a variety of ways to meet the needs of all of our learners. Our goal is to get to know the students, discover where they are academically and socially, and develop goals to help them grow. All right, some new learning. So What I learned about inclusion was how to cultivate an inclusive environment for children with disabilities in the classroom. This class teaches us about the importance of inclusion in many different areas, society, the workplace, and the classroom. And one of the interview questions that I asked kind of just solidifies how to make a classroom more inclusive. So what I asked was, how do you help kids with disabilities connect with their peers? And her answer was, providing an environment that celebrates differences is key to having a classroom where kids are accepted of others. Respectful language, treating others with kindness, and empathy for others must be taught. It doesn't always come naturally. Building self-esteem by giving all children opportunities to shine is also helpful. We celebrate accomplishments at all levels. All right, and new learning, what I learned about equity. So, all children deserve to learn in an inclusive environment. This course focused on the fact that different does not mean less than. So, one of the questions I asked the teacher was, what is your general experience with disabilities and inclusion in your classroom? Her answer was, I have always worked in schools that use the inclusion model, so I've had children with disabilities in my room for over 20 years. I've worked with children with autism, dyslexia, health conditions, physical impairments, and chromosomal conditions. All of them could learn, and all of them benefited from the social aspects of school. And I just thought that was such a wonderful answer, because everybody can learn. Everybody can do it. All right, what I learned about accessibility is important to everyone, and I learned how universal design is beneficial for all, and how to apply it to my future classroom. So asking the teacher I interviewed about universal design, I said, what are some of the principles of universal design that you used? And she said, providing engaging activities that utilize multiple ways of presenting information, as well as giving choices for ways to demonstrate understanding, seems to work well for me. Everyone learns in different ways, so instruction and assessments need to reflect this fact. All right, on to continued inquiry. So what I want to learn about now, this comes from the teacher that I interviewed as well, but she talked a lot about the growth mindset. So I want to learn how to build a classroom based on the growth mindset. And what that is that progress is progress, growth is growth, and we need to be focusing on what is improving rather than is everybody meeting this standard. And this is how she runs her classroom, and it's really effective with building an inclusive classroom. And ways that I want to learn is just learning from her. I'd like to volunteer in her classroom more than just once a month. And lastly, here are some questions for all of you. So in your interviews, what was a statement that was the most meaningful or informative to you? And how will you apply it to your future careers? All right, thank you everybody. This is the credits for the presentation, and then my APA cited credits are also included throughout. Thanks again.